Today, I figured I'd give you guys a ranking of the Firefly trilogy. This is a series of films that was directed by Rob Zombie and features a really murderous and screwed up family of killers and psychopaths that go around killing people and causing destruction and mayhem. This is an interesting series of films directed by Rob Zombie, and it's his only really complete series he ever did outside of the two Halloween movies. And it's also one that I find to be rather interesting. It is a relatively gruesome franchise, and I don't really recommend it for people who have like a light stomach or don't like more gory or over the top, messed up films. But it does have its own set of charm to it, and I do actually like these films, despite some of their flaws. So without further ado, I figure I'd give you guys a ranking from worst to best. Coming in last place is 2002's House of a Thousand Corpses. This film is alright. It introduces the Firefly family to the audience, and it has a group of young people, I guess you could say teens, and they visit this messed up house full of essentially brutal carnival attractions, and they run into this Captain Spaulding, this messed up clown, and baby Firefly played by Sherry Moon Zombie. It's an over-the-top crazy film with lots of violence and gore, but the plot is kind of all over the place. It feels kind of like a crazy carnival ride, or a hayride, basically, but there's just not a lot in the film to keep it focused. I feel it's just like Rob Zombie had a bunch of ideas for a horror movie, but didn't really have a script in mind, and kind of just winged it. It does have a plot, mind you, it's just not really one that's well-focused, and it's not really a film that I can really get into. Not a bad film overall, but it is one that I feel is a bit lacking in the grand scheme of Rob Zombie's filmography. Coming in at number 2 is 2019's Three from Hell. This was the sequel to The Devil's Rejects and came out a full 17 years later. This film sees the return of the trio from Devil's Rejects, though unfortunately Sid Haig, who plays Captain Spaulding, is only in the film briefly. He was actually in poor health when this film was being made, and only has one scene, and that's why they actually kill the character off in the movie via lethal injection. Spoiler alert, but the film's been out for a few years. He is basically replaced, though, by a new character who is basically Otis's half-brother, essentially. And he does a good job. The character's name is Winslow. He's not nearly as good as Captain Spaulding, but he is basically the equivalent of Otis, and that does make for like an interesting new trio. I do enjoy the film for what it is, but admittedly, it's not the best of the series. It kind of just feels like the Devil's Rejects light. Essentially, they go on another murderous road trip. This time they end up in Mexico, and you kind of know what's going to happen through and through, but I do actually enjoy this film. A lot of people don't like this one. It gets kind of a bad rap by the fan base, but personally speaking, it's kind of just The Devil's Rejects 2.5, or 1.5 rather. It's enjoyable, it's fun. I do like a lot of the gruesome carnage and kills in the film, and I think it's a decent, although not great, conclusion to the trilogy. Which leads me to number 1, the absolute best, 2005's The Devil's Rejects. This film is crazy, it's over the top, it's intense. It's directed by Rob Zombie, yet again, of course, and written by him, and this is without a doubt Rob Zombie's best motion picture. Essentially, it picks up after the events of House of a Thousand Corpses and sees the cops raiding their horror house and killing off all the people inside and murdering and destroying basically the entire family, with the exception of the 3 who get away, these 3 here. Well, and technically Tiny, but you don't find that out till later in the movie. It's a rather enjoyable sequel that sees these 3 messed up individuals, these devil rejects, so to speak, on a road trip, murdering, killing, and torturing people, and it ends in an awesome blaze of glory. It's basically just a non-stop, crazy, over-the-top film, and Rob Zombie's best effort to date. I highly recommend The Devil's Rejects. You actually don't have to watch House of a Thousand Corpses to understand what's going on here. They recap it pretty well. So if you're just interested in this trilogy, you're not sure if you like it, I'd say start with the second one, and if you enjoy it, work your way back and then work your way forward. All in all, an enjoyable film, and like I said, absolutely Rob Zombie's best. Well, that's my ranking. I know that Rob Zombie in more recent years has made some pretty questionable films, such as Monsters and who can forget everybody's favorite, 31. But ultimately, I do think that he is a decent director who has a lot of good ideas, but he probably would be better off as just a director and having someone else write his movies. I think he's a much better visionary director than he is a writer, but he did deliver a really decent trilogy here, and one that I rather enjoy. That's my video, and I thank you all for watching. I do plan on doing a couple of more rankings before the Halloween season is out. One featuring a certain clawed, gloved killer with a hat, and another one featuring a silent killer who just loves the season of Halloween. Stick around for that. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.